Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. Today I was on Facebook and I came across another video of police brutality. And the first thing that I thought, as I often think when I see these incidents, is how many more times will this happen? How many more videos will come out? How long will the brutality against black people continue? So you had this sister, Breaion King, in Austin, Texas. She was pulled over by the police, allegedly for speeding. So when the police officer pulled behind her, the sister parked her vehicle and she got out of her car. The officer commanded her to get back into the car, which she did. She got back into the car, and apparently she still had her feet outside of the car. The officer told her to put her feet into the car, and apparently she didn't do it fast enough, or she wasn't as compliant as he would have liked or to his satisfaction. So this officer proceeds to tell her to get up, get out of the car, and she does so. And then he commands her to do some other things, and apparently it wasn't to his satisfaction. So this officer proceeded to grab this woman and slam her down on the concrete. And then he wrestles with her, he handcuffs her, and then after he handcuffs her, he lifts her arms up high. So she's apparently in some kind of pain. If somebody's cuffed and, you have someone from behind you lifting your arms up real high, that creates some pain. So this officer proceeded to do that, and then he put her inside of the car. And while he was driving away with his sister in the back seat, he got into a conversation with her about racism and about policing. And during this conversation, he basically says that people are afraid of black people because we have violent tendencies. Those are his statements. All I can do is shake my head, because when I see video like this, I have to question who really has the violent tendencies. Here you had a woman being stopped just for a traffic violation, ended up getting slammed to the ground. Here we have another example of police violence. And I find it odd that you have these white people having the nerve, having the gall, having the audacity to talk about people having violent tendencies when there hasn't been anybody more violent than the white man. When you look at how this country was even created, they created this country through genocide. They took this land through genocide. They killed the entire native population. There are only a few remaining groups of natives left. They committed genocide against them. And then they enslaved the African and they killed thousands of Africans. Over 1 million Africans died during the Middle Passage. But yet you had this white man trying to lecture black people about having a tendency to be violent. I was listening to Ari Spears on Vlad TV talk about this same issue. Talking about how white people have been violent towards black people. White people are the ones that lynched black people with impunity for decades. Lynched black people. The brother Emmett Till was lynched simply for whistling at a white woman, allegedly. He was lynched for allegedly looking and whistling at a white woman. For that, he was beaten beyond recognition. And these people want to lecture somebody about violence when they would lynch women and men for simple things. And they actually saw that as an entertaining event to lynch a black man or a black woman. It was a source of amusement for these people. They would have massive gatherings as if they were going to some kind of sporting event to see a black man or black woman lynched. They would actually take souvenirs from these lynchings. body parts from these lynchings. They would actually create and sell postcards depicting lynchings of black people. But yet these same people want to lecture black people about tendencies to be violent, when every other day it's the police who are supposed to protect and serve, and they're the ones perpetrating the violence. That woman wasn't violent. Breaion King wasn't violent. It was that officer who was violent. When that brother Charles Kinsey was shot, while he had his arms up, hands up, lying on the ground, telling the police not to shoot, telling the police that he was there to help one of his patients, an autistic man, the police proceeded to shoot. You had an example of Sam Dubose. The police just shot that brother and then concocted a story about the brother trying to hit him with a car. You have all these examples of brutality, but yet you have a white person trying to criticize and judge black people, lecture black people about our supposed tendency for violence when there isn't a person on the planet more violent than the white man. Often we're told that if we're respectable, if we behave ourselves, if we are good little Negroes, then that white man, these white cops, these police will treat us with dignity and respect. That's what we're told. We're lectured about that. We're told that if you pull your pants up, if you stop trying to be a thug, stop trying to be a gangster, that you don't have anything to worry about with these police. That somehow that'll magically make the police brutality problem disappear. I mean, it reminds me of a slave on a plantation lecturing another slave about how to behave so that he won't get punished by the slave master. I mean, it reminds me of Roots, the first Roots, when the brother Kunta Kinte arrived on the plantation and you had Fiddler telling him how to be a good slave, basically telling him that he's in America now. Here you had Kunta Kinte, someone who had lived free and was recently captured and sold into slavery, being lectured by someone who was probably born in slavery and all he knew was slavery. Someone who was put into a situation where they were completely submissive to the white man. So this man served as his mentor, trying to guide him on how to be a good slave so that he won't have to endure punishment. And that's how some of these programmed Negroes are. They think that if they can behave, that Mr. Charlie won't hurt them, that Mr. Charlie won't shoot them, that Mr. Charlie won't body slam them and abuse them. But that's not true. I mean, the brother, Charles Kinsey, again, was compliant, but yet he was still shot by the police. This sister is a school teacher. She's not a thug. She's not a gangster. She's not posing with guns or with gang colors or anything like that. She is a teacher. But that officer didn't care what her profession was when he slammed her on the ground. All he saw was a nigger. All he saw was somebody who was dangerous. Even though it's a woman, a small woman, he perceived her as dangerous. And so you have a mere traffic stop over alleged speeding, ending up with a woman being slammed to the ground and arrested. These police are out of their mind. In fact, I mean, this is what the police were created for, to abuse black people. I mean, the first police, as we all know, were created to hunt down and capture slaves. They were slave catchers. I mean, anybody that is a real servant of the people Anybody who really believes in protecting and serving the people. Any police officer who is properly trained would have de-escalated that situation instead of escalating it, taking it from 0 to 100 over some damn speeding violation. That's absurd. That's ridiculous. And, we can't tolerate this anymore. Enough is enough. I mean, how many more examples of this kind of insanity must we witness? I mean, what are we going to do about this stuff? When are we going to really organize in an effective way that makes a measurable difference? Something that we can measure. Some kind of improvement in these police community type of relationships. See, these police have like a God complex when they encounter black people. They have a need to feel superior and to demand complete and utter submission. And even when we do comply and when we do follow the instructions of the officer, still that's not good enough. Still we could end up brutalized. Still we could end up dead or humiliated. And it's just insane that this stuff continues. And I just wonder, like, will there be justice here? Or will this just be like all the other cases that we've seen? Remember the police officer who slammed the girl down at a pool party? They decided not to indict that officer. They decided that it was okay what he did. He slams down a defenseless teenage girl and pins her down like she's some kind of dangerous criminal. And mind you, this girl was in her bathing suit, but this cop slammed her down. And that reminds me of that other situation where a police officer entered the classroom and slammed a girl down while she was sitting at her desk. And you had all those male students and even the male teacher, black male teacher, just stand around and allow that nonsense to occur, to allow that damn crime to occur. How can we expect our women and our children to respect us when we stand by and allow this stuff to happen? When we stand by and don't even speak out, don't even condemn this kind of conduct. In fact, you have some idiots, some fools, some damn buffoons that will rationalize and explain this stuff away. Black buffoons, black idiots, black cowards, and black punks who allow this stuff to continue. And yet these same people want to demand some kind of respect. And, I was reading this article, I think it was in Washington Post, about this situation. And they said that apparently the prosecutor is going to present this to a grand jury so that the grand jury can decide whether to indict. There is no need to bring this to a grand jury. Just go ahead and indict this cop for assault. Indict this cop for battery. In most jurisdictions, the prosecutor has that power. You don't have to go through a grand jury process. And many times these prosecutors use that as an excuse. They use that as a cover. They use that as a means to get out of the situation, to let the police off. And we shouldn't tolerate that. We shouldn't tolerate it. It's time for us to stand up. It's time for us to organize. And it's time for black men to be men and to defend and protect their women, their children, and their community.